Hello and welcome back to Phelan Moran Radio. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about everything to do with reframes and how crucial reframes can be for yourself and your business, because that is literally what's going to help create opportunity for you. Let's dive in. Okay, so I'm going to open this up with a story because I don't often scroll. I do scroll sometimes, obviously, for inspiration or just out of boredom. However, there was one day where I opened up Instagram because I was actually going to post, and this was prior to me getting repurpose.io. I was like, okay, I gotta, open up the plus sign and upload my video, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't do anything quite yet because there was this mom and she was like lying down with her kids, like crawling all over. I was like, totally can relate right now. And she was actually talking about a very well-known podcast and how this particular podcast has less than 1% of the guests are moms, and also less than 1% of the moms are even entrepreneurs. So basically, this is a really successful podcast. They have really successful people. However, they're not marketing and they're not covering a very specific portion, and even it's not even specific to say because so many people are moms and parents, right? But they're not covering how crucial it is to be able to raise kids and to also do business. And so obviously the way that this person was going about their post was, you know, it's they're neglecting an entire population, right? And you could look at it that way. You could look at it as like this person is neglecting this type of population. And you can look at it as, oh, well, maybe I should do something about that, right? Like instead of me sitting here talking about this other person and kind of like, I don't want to say gossiping because for lack of a better term, it kind of is gossiping. But really what it is, it's kind of like a call to arms. That particular post was more to be like, okay, this person's doing this, and moms that are business owners have to do 1,000,005 other different things. So if you're a mom who's a business owner, go you, right? Like it's a very motivational type of post, calling the same kind of people into her audience. If they, resonate with her other content, then, calling them into her page, which is fine. It serves its purpose. And there's also the reframe here where, okay, we can look at this person's podcast. It's a highly successful podcast, generates millions of dollars per year. We could say, well, they don't have this type of person on their podcast. Shame on them. And we can also say, they don't have this type of person on their podcast. I can start to create that for those type of people. I can create that outlet for that kind of person, that mom, right? And so that's exactly what I'm going to fucking do, because I have 2 kids and I am podcasting, and I do want to have a podcast that's up to that particular level. And it's all a matter of the reframe. Can you look at the situation and instead of shame on that person for not having more of this type of particular audience member on their podcast, instead of saying shame on them, how about we say, hey, thanks for showing me the way? Because really, now if we're going to take this a step further, now we're talking about the incorporation of gratitude. Because when you incorporate gratitude, gratitude is one of the highest frequencies that you can actually be on. And if you start to say, hey, thanks for that, even if it's something that might come across as slightly passively aggressive or sarcastic at the start, then what you can start to do is over time, even if it starts out that way, wow, it is actually something that I'm thankful for. Because if I didn't see that person take a shit on this podcaster, I wouldn't have had the thought to start to talk more to moms and to start to empathize more with moms in business, because I get it. You get it. How many different ways do you have to use your brain to be able to do what you do in a day, to take care of multiple kids, to get them where they need to go, to take care of your business, to generate the content, to talk about the offers, to sell the things, right? To do the taxes, to fill out the paperwork, to talk to your potential sales call clients, like your discovery call clients, whatever the hell you want to call the call. I don't care. It doesn't really matter what you call the call, but you understand what I mean. To get people on Zoom and then to convert them into paying clients, right? Like, how many different ways do you have to use your brain to be able to do that? Because you're a mom, and I get it, and you get it. And this person who has a really successful podcast might not get it. And that's okay. Because this is where also at the same time we have the conversation of it's not necessarily for a mom. Who is the person, who is the ideal client that podcast is for? It is for young men, more than likely, who are in their 20s, who are looking to start something and build something for themselves to better their financial situation, to better their lives, to personally grow, personally develop, whatever the case may be. There's an ideal client. And when you're creating content at the end of the day, you are talking to one person. And even if this podcast has 4.3 million followers, because that was what it was at the last time that I checked, every episode is still talking to you, to me. It's not talking to 4.3 million people. Because if you were to go into your content creation and you were to create content for 4.3 million people, do you know what you do? You dilute the shit out of what you got to say. And what you have to say has to be a little spicy. It's got to be. Because if you're talking to 4.3 million people, what's going to happen? Your subconscious mind is going to take over and be like, oh my God, I need to protect you. We need to stay safe. Versus if I know that when I create my podcast episodes, I'm talking to my mom and I'm telling her, hey, when you go to do this, steer clear of this shit and, fuck that other guy. Guess what? People are going to be like, yeah, you have an opinion. Yeah, you have an honest take. Yeah, you're authentic about this. Because I'm telling you exactly what I would tell my mom, right? Like, it is meant for one other person. Your content is not meant for 4.3 million other people. And if you are a person who resonates with that message, great. Then you follow. You're another follower. You're 4,300,001, right? You understand where I'm coming from. It's about the reframe. When you have a situation, any situation, and you can look at it as, oh, well, I'm going to take a shit on this person, or, oh, this is a shitty situation to be in. Okay, yeah. And it could also be a really great situation to be in. I mean, hell, let's even look at this whole Verizon outage right now. Because today's January 14th, it's 10:26 p.m. and 50% of Verizon users are out of service currently. And hell, if I didn't have service, I'd be like, oh, thank God, my phone's quiet. I'm not getting any notifications. Like, everything's easy peasy. Like, I could just take a break from my phone, and maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need a break from my phone. Or if you have service, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I can get in touch with my family, or blah, blah, blah. Point being, if you don't have the service, then fucking do yourself the decency of taking the time to just chill the fuck out. You're being granted, I don't know how many hours of time that you don't have to have constant notifications or constant potential stress. I mean, think about how many times something bad might happen and you get a text message and it works you up, right? You get immediately dysregulated. Your nervous system can use the break. Thank you. Thank you, Verizon, for the break. Okay. See how easy that reframe was? As soon as you can incorporate that gratitude, it goes from being horrible low energy to higher energy. Even, again, even if it's passive aggressive, even if it's sarcastic at the start. Oh, well, thanks, Verizon. Because you're going to say it to yourself again, because that's what the brain does. It loves repetition. Also, if you're creating content, it's another huge thing to keep in mind when you're creating. The brain loves repetition. Seriously, that is how trust is built. People want to talk about opening up your story. People want to talk about creating content about your expertise and your authority to create trust. You know what's going to create trust at the end of the day? That you say the same shit over and over and over again. Because the more times that somebody hears the same thing, the more times somebody's like, oh, that person is staying in integrity and I can trust them. Because it's not signaling to their conscious mind, it's signaling to their subconscious mind. Okay? Do yourself a favor. And for all of the moments where you're like, oh, well, I'm repeating myself, or oh, I feel like I'm just a record player. Yeah, you kind of are, and that's okay. You can say it in different ways, and that's great. You should say it in different ways, but you ultimately want to have the same message. You ultimately want to come back to repeating the same thing, because that is how you're going to build more trust at the end of the day. So, I went into this episode to really highlight the reframe. I think you got it by now. I think it's also really important for you to incorporate some of these other bits on just the subconscious and how it works, so that you can more effectively create marketing and content for whatever it is that you're looking to do. I am so glad that you tuned in. Thank you for staying with me. It is 10:30 at night. I'm really tired. I'm going to head to bed. And before I do that, though, I am going to kindly ask you for a rating or review on the podcast, because ratings and reviews are how the podcast can start to grow more. And I say it on every episode. Ratings and reviews are super appreciated. And this year I'm going to be doing spotlight episodes. So every rating and review that comes in for the podcast, I am going to do a spotlight episode for that review. And who knows, depending on what is contained within that review, I might also go on a slight tangent that would probably start to allow for other people to get creative with whatever it is that's going on within either their life, their business, their content, their social media, their money, their finances. You get where I'm going. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye.